Time to open my message requests. Yeah, a lot of nice lighthearted conversations. It's taken a lot of confidence to say this, but instead of running from this question, we're going to sit down and address it. Why does your team hit a losing streak in the middle of every season? Why? And how can you fix it? Well, it turns out that Football Manager is more realistic than you give it credit for. I'm going to show you something that usually, if you're asking me this question, you are not aware of. Now, there is a part to the medical center that is literally called overview. In the overview, they show you this risk assessment section. If you want to be super weird about it, you can come here and check out the risk assessment section. And in that, you can sort by fatigue. And when you sort by fatigue, you can see players that have accumulated fatigue. Now, I'm in the middle of a preseason run on my Twitch save with Oriental Dragon. You can hang out with us there. The link in the description, of course. But you see that I have 4 players that are already on low fatigue. They've just played. I've run them in a couple of consecutive matches. Or they're coming back from injuries or what have you. It depends on which player of these 4 is on this list. As you go through the course of the season, I'm going to need you to do one thing. I'm going to need you to look at this. This is not the only reason that your team has been hitting a slump, but it's the most obvious one. And in typical Zealand video fashion, I have answered this individually in DMs one too many times and now have a video that I can reference that says in the first message off the top, you have to check the fatigue of your team. It's kind of like dehydration. Like, by the time that you feel dehydration, it is already too late. You've been dehydrated for a while, and I'm out of water. I'm dehydrated. I'm always dehydrated because I spend 12 hours a day sitting at my computer playing video games. On that note, I'm going to go get more water, and you need to check this fatigue because it's the same as hydration. It will get bad before you get the message that says, hey, this homeboy right here, he needs a little bit of rest. So you might want to rest him for a match or 2 or a month and 3 months or something like that. This can particularly accumulate for your internationals. But here I am getting distracted. I need to go get water. Agua, por favor. And this is going to be different for every player. This might not affect particular players on your... Sorry, wait, I didn't actually drink. I don't have to know how to drink water. I just have to know how to talk. And this comes from an attribute that I have often made fun of. I mean, I do actively... I sit there and I make fun of natural fitness because... a lot of the time, natural fitness just doesn't have a lot to do with anything that's happening on the actual field. But sometimes natural fitness is very important. So me sitting there making fun of natural fitness is not helping in this case. Because what is going to determine over anything else how a player is able to recover, how they're able to play multiple games without getting jaded, without getting worn out is... well, their natural fitness. If a player has low natural fitness, you're going to have to baby him more. If you're playing in the English lower leagues and you got 85 matches, or like Brazil, where you have 300 matches every year, you are going to have to baby players with low natural fitness more and make sure they're up for the top contests and rotate them out more. Somebody has 18, 19 natural fitness, they become a lot more valuable to you in that circumstance. The more you need to rely on an individual starting 11 in a lot of matches. Now, the bigger your club, usually the more depth and rotational ability, rotability, more rotability that you have, the less important natural fitness is, because you'll just be able to put talented players in that spot anyways. As for how often you should check this, I'm the type of person that forgets things all the time. Technically, in Football Manager, you could check everything all the time, but you'd never advance in the game. If you are seeing a player that is starting to struggle, or you are aware that a player has played a lot of matches, even though they're starting the match and you've got like that beautiful full green heart, but it seems to go down quickly and they're in the red by the 65th minute, then that's somebody that's jaded. They're struggling to get through matches. They're not feeling as well. Then you might want to come to the medical center and say, okay, who are the players that need to sit out for a week? Who are the players that I need to rest from training for a week? Those sorts. Send them on vacation for a week. Do whatever you need to do. Those are your options. Realize that I should probably walk you through those now. You go to development, you drop down, and you can rest players from here even 1 to 2 weeks. They sit out training. Obviously, if you call them in to play a match, they're going to play it, but you want to rest the guy. Let's say you want to take a little vacation and you don't have the opportunity to actually play for a major club that's going to give you a giant bit of rest. Well, maybe you can take a tour around the rest of the footballing world by ordering a mystery shirt from Mystery Football Company. That would be you get sent a mystery football shirt like I have from mysteryfootball.co.uk. Now, I say that specifically because you got to make sure you can find the link down in the description where you'd be able to pick up your own shirt. But you'll also be entering in to get a $50 Steam gift card if you're one of the first 500 people that clicks the link down in the description. These are, and of course, I don't do sponsorships lightly, 100% sourced from the manufacturer. There is nothing knockoff that comes in these boxes. These are the real, genuine article, and more genuinely, I have no idea what is in this box. And I've been staring at this for a week and a half, obviously, so I'm going to open it and see what shirt we actually got. I've never done this before. See, a lot of mystery shirt companies kind of reached out, but see, there we go, Mystery Football. Here we go. This is the only first one that I really, really liked. That's awesome. Okay, so it comes with a little mystery shirt thing on it that actually tells you who you got. I got a full standard Delige kit from the Belgian Pro League. Dude. Oh, it feels, I mean, this actually feels sick. This is completely the genuine. That is so cool. I mean, that is so cool. What a kid. Welcome to the circus. Huh? What a kid. Yeah, that looks good. If you want to have a similar experience with these manufacturer source shirts, the link is down in the description. They are awesome. I am going to be getting more. Hopefully I'll win the $50 Steam gift card because there you go. You know what actually is the coolest thing is me buying video games on Steam is technically a tax write-off because this is my job. So you can have the gift card. The link's down in the description. See you there. What are we talking about? Right, we've hit the obvious reason, the most basic reason that you hit a huge snag in your season in January or in February. But there are some other things that you could be doing that could be costing you valuable points around the middle of the season when you hit that slump for 5 or 6 games that just seems to have no explanation. The next one is everybody else is also trying to win. I know. Everyone else is also trying to win. What does that mean in a game sense? You will see, especially if you play with the same club over years, and especially if you start beating other teams, you will observe those teams adjust their tactics. You will observe it. How they do this depends, of course, on the ability of the manager. So if I am competing with my Oriental Dragon team against FC Porto, right, Martin Palermo, I'm competing against this guy. Well, I'm feeling decently confident, right? He's only got 12 tactical knowledge. But let's say Jose Mourinho wants to come back and well, Jose Mourinho is a bit of a better coach, which means based off of the scouting and the analytic work that their team is doing on my team and the information that he has available about his players, obviously, and my players, the opposing coaches are going to make better and better tactical adjustments for how to play against your team, especially if you're starting to win. And the way that this happens is sometime around January in most major leagues, you start to play every team again for a second time. You're starting to figure out where this is going. So old Jose Mourinho here, who happens to be the head coach of England in my Oriental Dragon save, which is just literally too good. I cannot express how much I want this to happen in real life. I cannot. This would be amazing. And now results-wise, it would just be hilarious to watch. But once you start playing those teams a second time, those teams have a real practical, analytical, and scouting experience playing against your team, are able to better assess what you are able to do well, and are able to better, obviously, come up with a way to counter that. from their own team, to make adjustments. Like when I was Bate Borisov in Belarus last year, every single team I played had 5 across the back and 2 defensive midfielders. It's a pretty basic read of the situation because we were winning Champions Leagues and they were in the Europa League group stage, but they adapted to the situation heavily because they didn't play that formation against anybody else. That happens in smaller ways when you're taking on other teams too, just so that you're aware. And this brings us to the analytics side of this. And you go, oh no, not the analytics, please. God, you've got to get into your match analysis section. So say you go out and you lose the last 2 matches. Well, you can come up here and uncheck everything and, well, what did we do wrong? And this is assessing how they defended you. So either you are being super unlucky, which we'll talk about later, your team is jaded, or the other team is adjusted to play this way and you are struggling in aspects of the game that you were not struggling in before. So select whichever games you want to assess, and you can come into your match analysis screen and figure out, what parts of the game you are not impacting and what parts of the game you are impacting. I mean, that really explains itself. You can go through and click on each portion and analytically it'll show you what's up. If you don't have any analytics, you're going to have to use your brain. I know. Just take some of those like fish oil tablets or something, whatever people say, like builds your brain, or, we only use 5% of our brains. The other 95% is where we could actually understand the motivations of the match engine. If you don't have those analysts, right, you have to use your brain and figure out what your team is not doing well. Are you getting a lot of chances and not scoring? Or are you not getting a lot of highlights? Is your team complacent in that sense? Is it losing concentration defensively? Are you losing the midfield? Are you getting overwhelmed on a flank? All of these different things that you might have been controlling before, but you're now getting overloaded somewhere you didn't anticipate, or they're taking advantage of a gap in your formation. You're in a 4-2-3-1. Well, they're getting behind your double pivot, your central midfielders. They're playing from behind them. Maybe you need to put one back, play with a defensive midfielder, go with a 4-3-3 for a couple of games. You understand the types of adjustments that you might need to make as you assess this yourself. If you have the aid of analysts, please use them. This is a very helpful little section. And this brings me to the last reason that your team might be struggling. No player is good all the time. Okay, every single player in Football Manager has a lot of different factors that affect how well and good they're going to be playing on a given day. They have a consistency rating that determines at what level they'll be playing on that day. It can change over the course of the match with motivation, determination, right? Their just general composition as a player with things like pressure and controversy, right? How they react to team talks. There's a million little things that can affect how the player shows up on a day and how they change over the course of the season. The more you play Football Manager, the more you realize that it emulates real life and that people that are not a big factor in your winning early in the season can have a good game or two. You should keep playing them. You should. Obviously, everything has an extenuating circumstance. Maybe somebody was hurt and they come back and they're much better than this other person, so you put them in there. But your best starting 11 at the beginning of the season is almost never your best starting 11 at the end of the season. When somebody starts to play poorly, no matter who it is, they play consistently poorly, they're not jaded, rotate them out. Find a different formation where you don't have to use that player. We've seen this happen with a player that I actually just ended up selling. His name is Michael Portilla. Now, I am particularly savage, right? Michael Portilla spends his first season, scores 25 goals in 27 matches. But as my team gets better, we have no need for this Timo Pukki-esque, right behind the line, kind of Ciro Immobile, a poor man's Ciro Immobile type player in Portilla, where he is very good at getting behind the lines. He's got good athleticism. His touch is fantastic. But when it comes to playing the way we're trying to play as the rest of my team gets better, I noticed that his ratings started to get worse and worse. His cemented spot was dropped, and we would rotate him back in towards the end of each season, and he would get his opportunities to play. And towards the end of last season, he was instrumental in getting us Europa League as he popped up and scored a couple goals in a late match because my other strikers were struggling. But he continued to produce poor ratings, and he slowly slid out of the team, even though talent-wise, the kid has a lot of talent. As the tactics changed, my poor boy Michael Portilla faded away. Rest in peace, Portilla Chips. He'll always be remembered fondly for his 25-goal output. It won the Golden Boot, by the way, in Liga NOS. But you can't stay attached to those players if they are not performing. And I feel as though once the consistency turns on one or two of those players, once they hit a poorer spell of form, most people are afraid to rotate their team too much because we can see the attributes. That almost works against us, right? We know how good exactly Michael Portilla is. The fact that if he gets an open look, he really should be burying it a lot of the time with 17 finishing, decent composure, really great decision making, great first touch, right? He should be in behind, receiving the ball and putting the ball away. Well, he's not always going to be able to do that because sometimes he's a lot worse than what we're seeing here. If he gets in a bad run of form, gets down on himself, doesn't have the right mental ability to pull himself out of that, or we haven't seen it before, we had to rotate him out of the team. Ended up paying off. We won the league on the final day of the season last year, and Portilla was nowhere near the team, despite 2 years ago being 18 and winning a Golden Boot. No two players in Football Manager are exactly alike. Even if you know a player is more talented than another, as long as that player has the prerequisite ability to play at the level you're at and they're performing better on the day, then there's no reason to at least consider them as a regular starting option until you feel like you need to give somebody like Portilla another chance to impress. And you should give them another chance to impress eventually. But this is all about winning. And winning requires rotation and players that are actually in form. And by the time you get to January, they might not be. But that's it. As many times I've been asked this question because it happens to a lot of people, those are the 3 reasons that your team starts to lose in January. And you can always pull yourself out of this hole by having a couple of depth options throughout the field that you feel comfortable bringing in, making sure your team is well rested, and being able to react to whatever your team is failing to do. Now, I'm going to go watch the second half of England versus Germany because somehow I filmed this during halftime of the game. So let's see if my England prediction stands true. Honestly, very intriguing first half. Now, you watching this video, I find this fascinating all the time. You already know the answer to this. What happened? Tell me. Tell me!